Welcome back, Irish fans. Breaking down Braves Boys podcast. Notre Dame picks up a big win against Louisville on the road. Picks up a quad two win to help their resume out. Move to 2-1 in quad two play, assuming Louisville can stay in that after probably a few more losses down the stretch here. But Notre Dame ran into a red hot team today. This is a game that in past years I think they would have lost. Like I said, a red hot team. They got forced to play faster than how they wanted to play. Played against physical bigs, a team who pressed them a little bit, and to cap that all off in a tough road environment, Notre Dame still found a way to win. The turnovers were not ideal, but Notre Dame's offense today, other than that, was really, really good. One of the best offensive performances of the year. Can't think of many other ones of this caliber. Virginia Tech first half, I guess. UNC, Kentucky to an extent, but this was a game Notre Dame probably doesn't win last year in a game I thought they were going to lose based on how a lot of this went and how things shaped up, especially the pace really concerned me with the seven-man rotation. Played against physical bigs, which I thought Louisville would take more advantage of. They didn't. They handled the press really well today, surprisingly. And even though they turned it over a little bit, still scored a ton of points and ended up beating Louisville by what I'm assuming is going to be double digits. I start this a few seconds early, but Notre Dame's going to have to consistently win games like this to go to the tournament, and this is a great start for it. Now 2-1 in quad two play, like I said, and just a big win for Notre Dame. Notre Dame was firing on all cylinders today, even defensively. I know it didn't show essentially whatsoever, but they really were on it defensively today. Louisville hit some crazy shots today, and I think a lot of those shots that they hit, Notre Dame was fine with giving up, and I think the coaches are fine with their defensive performance today. Blake Wesley, in particular, he probably got 5 or 6 threes hit right in his face, and I'm sure that was frustrating for him, but took out that frustration late in the game and overall had one of his best games in Notre Dame. He was composed. He took good shots. He didn't force it until like the very end. He didn't force it. He played solid defense in my eyes, even though it didn't really show, and took over for a few minutes, which Notre Dame has been sorely lacking for a lot of seasons in a row since like Matt Farrell left, since Jaron Grant left, Demetrius Jackson. Played like a pro today, and the next step for him is consistently having games like this. Jaden Ivey had to make that step, and Blake Wesley, I think, is having it. Right now, 22 points on the night, and I think this is a lot better than his other 22-point games. I think he had 22 against Tech, Virginia Tech, Georgia Tech. I just refer to them as that because I'm from Georgia, but Blake had 22 against them and wasn't near as good. Today he started 8 for 10, now he's 8 for 13, and then went 3 for 4 from 3, so let's say 8 for 13, even though a lot of that was garbage time misses. 3 for 4 from 3. I'll take that from him any day. Didn't really turn the ball over much, had 3 turnovers, had 2 assists, and overall, I think he looked like a pro today. And I'm a big fan of Blake Wesley. I think he is an NBA player at some point, but I couldn't tell you that he played like a pro for a lot of their games this year, and today he did. So this was a huge step for him, and let's hope he can have more games like this where he's composed and he's not turning it over like he was on Monday. And if he can do that, he might go to the NBA this year. I'd assume he's coming back based on kind of what I've heard. But, man, if he does this consistently, it's going to be hard to keep him out of the lottery. And I think the NBA scouts like this one today. Moving on to Prentiss Hubb, he shot it really well today. Got to give him credit for the offense flowing like it was. We give him flack when they turn it over and the offense isn't flowing. And I think we got to give him credit when the offense is flowing like this, being unselfish, finding his teammates. And Hubb had 12 today, 4 for 6 shooting, 3 for 5 from 3. Shot it really well, like I said. Had 5 rebounds and 5 assists also. So really solid performance from Prentiss Hubb. And if they can get the performances they got out of Blake and Prentiss today, man, this team is going to be good. And if they play like they did today, they're an NCAA tournament team. They just got to do this consistently. And that's been the biggest issue with Notre Dame for years. But this group they've had a lot of really good games like this. And last year, we knew they could do this. They just didn't do it very often. And now with Blake Wesley and the emergence of Dane Goodwin and Paul Atkinson, they seem primed to do this a little bit more than they have in past years. And that's really encouraging. And we saw that today. Speaking of Dane, I feel like I say the same stuff about him every game. Nothing really changes. He's reliable, 5 for 8, 3 for 5, 13 points, and just he's all reliable. Shot it really well, was reliable, didn't force it. Looked like a vet again today, and there's not much negative to say about Dane Goodwin. You can nitpick his defense, you can nitpick his athleticism, whatever. The guy is the ultimate consistent wing, and he did it today again. 13 points, one of 4 Notre Dame players in double figures, and there was another that was almost in double figures, and Trey Wertz hit 1,000 career points today. I thought today was one of his better performances on the year. 9 points, 3 for 4 from the field, 3 for 3 from downtown, and he was really good today. I thought didn't really force it much, took good shots and hit shots like I know he can, and we're going to need to see that more from him. He's probably, to me, he's their best shooter. I know that's going to be a bit of a hot take with Dane Goodwin on the roster, but I think Trey Wertz is probably their best shooter when they have the same amount of opportunities. And, man, he showed it today, 3 for 3 from beyond the arc. And if he can shoot it like today and shoot it like he's capable of and not force it and kind of run through the offense without – I keep saying forcing it, but without forcing it or without trying to hunt his shot too much, man, Trey Wertz can be a huge piece to this team down the stretch. Another guy who can be a huge piece is Cormac Ryan. Didn't have a great game offensively, 2 for 5, 2 for 3 from 3, and 6 points. But Cormac Ryan, I feel like I say the same thing about him every game too, like Dane, but just had a typical Cormac game. Played solid defense, hit shots when they needed him to, didn't really force it. And if they can get that out of Cormac, if they're getting stuff like this out of Hubb and Blake and Dane and Paul Atkinson and Trey, they don't need a lot from Cormac Ryan. And today was a good game for him, just like pretty much always, unless he takes too many shots. But I'm not worried about Cormac taking too many shots. It seems like he's got a lot better at kind of controlling himself from just dribbling out the clock and trying to take his guy off the dribble, which sometimes works, but I think they're better off with Blake doing that or Prentiss or Dane. So solid game from Cormac. I don't know if he's ever going to have that breakout game again this year, but if he can do this every night, perfect. Paul Atkinson had a quiet 13. I feel like I barely saw Paul Atkinson score, but shot 6 for 7 from the field, had 5 rebounds, and did a solid job being effective on the low block defensively. 13 points is great, but if the Louisville guys like Malik Williams just dominated you all night, then that doesn't work. But Paul Atkinson did a solid job combating them, even though he was at a big physical disadvantage, and Nate Laszewski did the same. Thought they should have played a little more zone to kind of help those guys out down there, but they finished with 2 combined fouls and didn't give up a whole lot down there. So good on them for their performances today. 20 combined points for Nate and Paul. I thought Nate was pretty solid, shot it pretty well. And you can't ask for much more from those guys considering the guard play today and the pace of this game. I thought they could have got lost a little bit in the pace, but didn't really. And both of them I thought played solid at least. And Notre Dame was all around good today, even in a game they probably wouldn't have won in last year's. And probably, to me, shouldn't have won. Louisville, I think, is a bit of a dumpster fire, and that showed today by kind of how this game fell apart for them. I don't know if Chris Mack will have the job next year. To me, he probably shouldn't, but, man, they're a bit of a disaster. Notre Dame really had the advantage in guard play, and they took advantage of that down the stretch, and Louisville couldn't take advantage of their mismatches down low. And that's partly a coaching issue, partly a player's issue. But, I mean, I'll take it. One bad thing, though, like I mentioned earlier, Notre Dame's got to take care of the ball better. Turned it over a little too much today. They averaged 8 turnovers a year and turned it over 11 times, a lot in the first half, which kind of hindered their offense. But when you shoot at 65% from 3 and 63% from the field, it doesn't matter. So big game for Notre Dame today against a team that didn't look like they were going to lose the game when they were playing in the first half. Louisville did not look like a team that was going to lose to Notre Dame in the first half, but Notre Dame found a way, and they beat them by double digits behind a really encouraging effort from Blake Wesley and Prentiss Hubb and Paul Atkinson, Dane Goodwin, 4 guys in double figures again for Notre Dame. And the pace was something that I was really concerned about, but I think that almost inflated the turnover number a bit. I'm not all that concerned about it today in particular. I think it's beginning to be a little bit of a trend, and I don't like that all that much, but I think the pace made the turnover numbers look a little worse than they were, but it's fine. They didn't play at the pace they really wanted to. They want to run a little bit to get good looks in transition, but they don't want to make this a track meet like it was today. And it was, but Notre Dame found a way, and that's what they're going to have to do to make the tournament here. They're going to have to win these quad 2 games against teams with different styles. I think their next game is UVA, and that's the team with a different style of Notre Dame, and they're going to have to find a way to go get it after a track meet today. They're going to basically go into the slowest game they're going to play all year right after the track meet. So good teams find a way to win games like this, and I'd like to think Notre Dame's a good team. So big one today for the Irish. Quad 2 win, moved to 2-1 in quad 2, assuming that Louisville stays in that wheelhouse. Notre Dame will probably move up the rankings a little bit, and they've got a shot to make some noise here in the ACC over the next few weeks, and today was the start of that. So thank you guys for watching. Be sure to subscribe for more Notre Dame men's basketball content. We want this to be the place to be post-game, and thank you guys for watching. I'll be back on Wednesday for it's either UVA or NC State. I forget which exactly. One of those games I'll be back covering on Wednesday. I'll look right after this. So thank you guys for watching. Go Irish, and let's hope they can continue this big streak in the ACC.